Welcome to On Texas Football. It's time for grades midway through this season. This is State of the Program. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by former Longhorn Rod Babers and expert Gerry Hamilton. This episode of State of the Program brought to you by our friend Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. All right, let's get into it, guys. Grading the Longhorns 6 games through the season. Let's start and go position by position and start with quarterback. Arch Manning, 4-2 as a starter this season after being 2-0 as a starter a year ago. There have definitely been ups and downs. The first 3 games, I think that everybody wanted to see a better version of Arch Manning. Well, the last 3 games, we have seen a better version, whether it's Sam Houston State, even Florida, where the Longhorns lost, but Manning played fairly well. And then against the Sooners, 21 of 27 for $166, a touchdown. But most importantly, the thing that I would say here, he's playing. He is yet to have a lost fumble this year. He's got 12 TDs and 5 interceptions. He's taking care of the ball better than a young quarterback typically does. We need to give him a grade so far, guys. And I'll let you. I think everybody wants to talk about the quarterback. So, Gerry, I'm going to go to you first here.
When I thought about this category, I thought about how would Arch grade himself. And I bet he would give himself a C or C+. Because he said it in the press conference, I hadn't been playing very well. I'm going to give Arch a C+. Because I do think, look, he missed some easy throws early in the season. I'm going with how I think he would personally grade himself here.
Is he ascending, though? Is he ascending?
He's ascending, yes. I think there was a rough patch there for him. I mean, he's missing throws he's been making since 5th grade, right? Working with David Morris. And he himself said, I was not playing good football, but he is growing now. I think right now, if everybody's like it said C+ or B-, whatever somebody goes with, I don't think they're wrong. I think by the end of the season, when we do this show again, it's going to be a higher grade.
Rod, you agree with that?
I do agree with that. I say, because I got him as, he's basically got kind of 2 Fs early on in the season. If you can give him if you want to, you can go Ohio State and give him an F for that. We know that UTEP game. That was a pretty, sad performance considering the standard for him. But you're right. The last 3 games, we've seen Sam Houston State probably got an A in that one. Florida game under a lot of pressure. Still probably gave him a C just for that performance, the grit that we saw. Love that we saw from him in Oklahoma, especially in critical moments on 3rd downs. So I don't know. Maybe for me, I'm gonna go with, because he's trending the right way. I'll go B-. I'll go B-. He barely crept over with that Oklahoma 3rd down, guys. He was magnificent on 3rd down. You had the ball in his hands on 15 of those 17 3rd downs. You converted 9 of those. Whether as a runner or him as a passer, he was magnificent. And against the best 3rd down defense in the country. And was able to limit the sacks as well. I know the offensive line is a big part of that, but he did a lot in terms of sack avoidance against that group. I just thought there was so much growth for him in Oklahoma. I'm going to go B-, but I think Jerry's probably right accurately. If we're assessing the grades, it probably falls more in the C+, but I'm going to go B-. I like what I've seen so far.
I'm going to go with y'all. I think B-, C+ is in that range. And you can't help, to your point, Rod, but weight the Oklahoma performance.
Mm-hmm.
You're the quarterback at Texas. How you perform against Oklahoma matters. More than how you perform against UTEP. That's the way of the world. And so to your point, I think it deserves it. It also deserves to be noted that he is leading the team in not only passing, obviously, but also rushing.
Yes.
And that includes lost yardage from sacks.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive. You've got 94 yards rushing so far. That leads us to our next position.
What a lead in the running back grade.
Running back grades at this point. They've got to get healthy.
Yeah.
They just haven't been healthy through the first half of the season. That leads us into this discussion about running backs, Gerry. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, look, it's been an injured position, right? Trey Weiser, 1,000-yard rusher last year, has 185 yards. Well, he has 185 yards because he hasn't been healthy. And he missed the 3 cupcake games where he builds stats. Obviously, C.J. Baxter comes back, has a hamstring injury, hasn't played much. Jarrett Gibson's hit the portal. He's your second leading running back rusher. He's hit the portal. James Simon, I think, slowly taking over as the number 3 back, number 2 back when one of the top 2's out. then you have Christian Clark getting his feet wet. So I with this group, pass protection, catching the football in the backfield, rushing yards. I mean, you got to go C+ for me on running backs too, just because you haven't seen guys healthy. They haven't put up big numbers against bad teams. And part of that's offensive line issues as well, which is next or in a couple. But I think you got to go C+ here. And I think it's almost an incomplete at running back for me.
It is.
I almost have to give that the eye. Maybe I will. Maybe I'm going to give him an incomplete because there's just been too many injuries and not enough flow at that position.
Yeah, good point.
Rod? Good. The incomplete is good, actually, Jay. It's good. You should be should be in the education system. But I'll go. I'm gonna go with just a C overall. I mean, none of these guys are. I think Cedric Baxter's the only running back right now, averaging over 4.5 yards per rush.
Correct.
For you. And some of that's which we'll talk about with offensive line continuity. But some of it is on the running backs. And even Trey Weiser talked about that versus Florida, saying, hey, man, I left some yards out there. I wasn't patient enough. I gotta be a little bit more patient. He talked about his footwork and things like that. And of course, took a huge step versus Oklahoma. So I'm gonna go with a C for that group overall, hoping that they can increase that. They're gonna have to in SEC play.
Yeah, I'm a little bit with Gerry here. And you guys in the incomplete or C, I would even go C-, frankly, because the guys that were stepping up behind them, Jarrett Gibson and even Christian Clark, haven't played well. I mean, they haven't. If they make people miss, they're not maximizing runs at the same time. And so I worry a little bit about that. Other than James Simon, I'm not sure anybody else in Trey Wisner that they've maximized yardage. Like Cedric Baxter has, to your point, Rod, but he hasn't played enough. Trey Wisner, other than the Florida game, has. But I'm a little disappointed in that group overall right now. Whether that's because of injury or because the backups haven't necessarily played to a level. I would either go incomplete or C-. I'm just going to put that out there because I really think part of Arch's problems early, guys, in my opinion, were a lack of somebody else stepping up to take the baton, and help him out through some tough times. All right, let's go wide receiver. Rod B, you've got some thoughts on those guys.
Yeah, I think the big thing bringing down the grade of the wide receivers is that, Ryan Wingo is just starting to find his groove late. Early on in the season, he and Art struggled to get any chemistry or continuity. And I think Sark was, I'm not saying forcing it, but Sark was determined that he was going to be the number one guy. See what the ball found Parker Livingston a little bit more naturally, organically within the offense. You deal with DeAndre Moore having been nicked up just a little bit, but I think DeAndre Moore is going to be a steadying, I think he's going to be a steadying presence for you in that wide receiving room. And I think Arch actually makes more plays in the scramble drill when DeAndre Moore is in there because the guy works a slot in the intermediate area. So I like this group, but and I like that Dalen McCutcheon, young wide receiver, is stepping up to be a part of it. But ultimately, I'm going to go with a C+ for this group. I do think with Wingo trending in the right direction, though, this group has a chance to break out into the B category in SEC play. But so far, I liked what I saw from Parker Livingston, but really you haven't seen much else from the other guys stepping up. And I think DeAndre Moore's been because of injury, but Ryan Wingo just starting to find his groove is good, but that's only as of late, probably the last game or two we've seen that.
I'll tell you what I think here that's big. And you mentioned of the last couple of games, I think they're starting to get a little bit of camaraderie with Arch. Finally.
Yes.
There was no synchronicity in games 1 and 2 and even 3. I think they're now starting to understand what they need to be doing to help Arch.
Scramble drill.
I go back. Yeah. Scramble drill. Even I go back to the third down catch that Ryan Wingo made in the third quarter of the OU game where he came back to the ball, even though he was 5 yards short of the first down. It got Texas in field goal range.
Yep.
That was not a completed third down play. I mean, that goes down as in some ways, they didn't make the first down. Maybe so, but it gave Texas 3 points. I think they're starting to understand, hey, we need to play within the confines of the offense and help Arch as part of our role. I agree, Rod, overall. I mean, good. I think they're going to be better as they get more and more reps actually with Arch Manning in tough situations too. Jerry?
Yeah, I'm the same on the grade. By the way, perimeter blocking is going to be big the second half of the season because Texas is going to lean on run game. They're going to lean on run game. These guys are going to end screen game more so if Oklahoma told us anything. So perimeter blocking that grade needs to elevate to a B+ the rest of the season for this offense to maximize.
If they can get there, I agree with you. That's going to be the question. Is this a B+ or A- group?
Yeah.
They're young. I mean, we've said this. 3 of the top 4 are true sophomores at best.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. It mostly helps too.
Yes, he does, especially on the perimeter, probably.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Tight ends. Look, what was supposed to be a impact position with, and has been historically with Steve Sarkisian, has yet to be with Texas and Jack injuries. It's not Jack Injury's fault. I think those first 3 games, to all of our points, you throw those in the hamper or the trash bin because they did not look like anything you want to, even though Jack Injuries in one of those games had 2 touchdowns, I think. San Jose State? Yeah. I mean, my point being, we've yet to see Arch use the tight end the way we thought he would in the immediacy of the game. We'll see where it ends up. But what I want to say that's been very pleasant surprise for me is the depth of the tight end room has been better than maybe you expected. Even though, I mean, Jerry, you've been high on Nick Townsend as a recruit. Amari Winston, same thing. And then you had Spencer Shannon and Jordan Washington. We'd all been high on Jordan Washington because of that spring game he had. But the depth, you can see it kind of blooming, right? Is that a good way to put it? And they're all getting reps. Nobody is getting 0 reps in a game. They're all getting some time. They're all seeing some action. And I think that depth, it makes them fresh, provides different opportunities for different guys. I'm going to go probably a C+, B- at this point at tight end. And the one thing that I would say, we want them to block better. I mean, part of the run game in this 12 personnel set that Sark is using is not going that direction. Rob, what do you think about the tight ends?
It's clear Sark wants. I mean, I agree with you about the depth. Clearly, Sark wants to weaponize this group. Remember, you were over 60% 12 personnel in that Sam Houston State game, I believe. And remember that San Jose State game, you put on the display. You had 4 different tight ends get targets. So Sark wants to weaponize this group. I like the tight ends, and I kind of like what they've done so far. I think some of the lack of execution in other areas of the offense have affected the tight end position. I'm going to go B-. I like the group overall. I don't think you've been this deep at tight end, and I don't know if you've ever been this deep at tight end at Texas. I ain't going to lie to you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I think it's a B- as well, and I think by the end of the year we may look up and this may be B+ for this group.
Yeah. Good point. Hey, Jerry, I'm going to stay with you and go to the offensive line if you don't mind.
Oh, sure. That's nice. Thank you.
I'll give you the easy one.
Thanks a lot.
That's tough sledding right there, man.
Up and down effort this season. Started reasonably well at Ohio State, and then just really looked bad for 2 games, and really 4 of the next 5, 3 of the next 4. What are your thoughts on that group right now?
I mean, you have to go – and the Oklahoma game factors in like it did for Arch, right? Because they played their best game of the year against Oklahoma. I think inserting Nick Brooks, the growth of Brandon Baker, I think you're seeing some signs there. C-.
Okay.
I mean, because at the end of the day, you know, they struggled in the cupcake games, right? They struggled with I mean, they struggled in the cupcake games. There's just too many pre-snap penalties. There was too much just self-inflicted on the offensive line.
Yep.
I agree.
That's the tough and look, they're going to get better. And I think this grade's going to improve, which our whole total offensive grade is going to be bad, but as it should be. But I think the offensive line, which is the most important position to have continuity, has been the one that's been looking for its continuity. But I think they're actually starting to find it. I think Nick Brooks is a huge addition, and Brandon Baker's growth is a huge addition. So I'm going rough grade now, but I actually think they have a chance to make some pretty decent gains the rest of the way.
Rod?
I'll go with a D for the
Yeah.
O-line. It's a D overall after obviously the Florida performance was very disappointing for them. And, I love what they did versus Oklahoma, even though they still struggled a little bit early. Then kind of found their groove in the Oklahoma game. So they're trending in the right direction. And we know what they're capable of because we saw Texas versus Ohio State. So we know what they're capable of as a line. There is talent there. But I'm going to go with a D because it's about the gap between what you're capable of and what your output has been. And there's a big gap there for this group, but I think they can shrink that gap or close it in the next couple of weeks.
I will say this. I think they've been the most disappointing group.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what their grade should be. Like C minus, D, whatever. Okay. It's not a failing grade, by the way, but
right.
I think they've been the most disappointing group based on what we thought they would be out of the gate. And I think that's not their fault as much as it may be our fault.
Agreed.
As prognosticators, et cetera. Tony Hills in this morning's show talked about the need to gel as a unit. Maybe Nick Brooks gives them, simplify and gel. And maybe Nick Brooks gives them that opportunity, guys. Maybe he does. Overall offense grade, I went with a D plus, C minus, because until OU, this offense had been a collection of talent, not a team, not a unit, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Even though they're 4-2, even though Arches kept the ball away reasonably from the other team, I think I'm gonna go D plus for the first 6 games for offense as a whole. What do y'all think?
I'm D plus. They're 72nd in college football in total offense. They're 11th in the SEC in total offense. 11th in the SEC in total offense. That gets a D plus no matter how you shake it out or discuss it.
All right. What do you think, Rod?
I'll go C minus. I'll be kind. I'm one of those graders. I'm a teacher. I'll be kind to my students. They got some extra credit. So I'll go C minus with the group, but it does show you the upside tremendous. I mean, this group has a long way they could go, a potential growth for this offense. So I'll go C minus right now. This is not a strength of the team right now, but it has the pieces to be.
Yeah. Now the offense should be better as the season wears on because they're getting their sea legs. This is exactly what we talked about in the preseason. So let's talk about defense next. But first, I want to say thank you to our sponsor, each and every state of the program every week, brought to you by our friend Adam Lowy over at the Lowy Law Firm. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, and think you might be due compensation, make sure you reach out to Adam and ask for a free, no strings attached consultation. They're happy to give it to you. Again, reach out to him at loweylawfirm.com. He's been sponsoring on Texas football now for 3 years, as well as University of Texas athletics for I don't know how long. But Adam's a good friend of the program. Again, loweylawfirm.com. All right, defensive tackle, Jerry, I'm going to start with you. Texas brought in all of those newcomers. Have they paid off in the portal?
Oh, yeah, I definitely think they have. I mean, look, Murad Watson's a tremendous football player. I think Hero Canu's been revelations, I should say, of this team. I think Travis Shaw's playing his role. Alex January missed key time, but he's a good player. Cole Brevard runs his race over the ball. I think this group has been solid. I think this group has been solid. I'm going to go – look, I mean, Texas is number 3 in the country in total defense. It's the opposite of offense. So it's going to be – we got to grade these guys on a curve a little bit. I'm going to go with B, solid B. You can't go higher than that. And defense as a whole for me because of the Florida game. I mean, they just didn't bring the fight physically in that game for me. But I'm going to go solid B on the defensive line. And I think these guys are going to continue to play better because I think they're going to play the run well, and teams are going to test Texas against the run the second half of the season. The Cupcakes are trying to get the ball out of their hand quickly. Yep. I think the defensive line is the way they were built for the second half of the schedule.
What do you think, Rod?
I do like that DZ Tech. They're deep. I mean, they're guys that we didn't expect to be big-time contributors that are now kind of leaders of this group. Guys like Hero Canu stepping up and, love what Cole Brevard has done. Murad Watson You talked about Alex January as a leader. So at D tackles, I think they look good to me. I think this group is deep. And yeah, aside from the Florida performance, which right now kind of looks like an outlier with that group, I'm going to go with a solid B with the D tackles. I mean, that's pretty damn good. They could easily get an A, but the Florida game kind of takes the A off the table for me.
It takes the oomph away. It does.
Yeah.
It does, because
Yeah.
they didn't get off blocks against Florida.
Yeah.
And I mean, Florida was able to run the ball with success against Texas. I'm fine with a B plus. I do think they've been good overall, but they were beat soundly, in my opinion.
Yep.
At Florida. They can't let that happen on the road the rest of this year. That would be difficult. All right, let's go to the edges. Ooh. Maybe the most surprise of the season to me has been it's how much Zena Umozulu is playing. It's how much Lance Jackson is playing. We thought this might be the strength of the team heading into it, with guys returning starter like Ethan Burke and Trey Moore. I'm as high. I'm still as high on this group as I am any. I'm going to give them an A minus. They haven't been as disruptive, maybe, as I thought they would be, especially against Florida. But I think when they've been on better than any group on this team, frankly. So I'm going to go A minus at edge. Rod, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I love that the young guys are stepping up. You know, Lance Jackson looks really good. I mean, he's going to be a star. Like you said, Zena, they even have that F1 package now because they have so many edges. They put 4 of them on the field at one time. I really like this group, man. But the expectations were really high. I'm going to go with a B plus just because my expectation, that's my fault, by the way. We're sky high for this group and still are, by the way, because I think it may be one of the deepest edge rooms in the country. Like, I put Texas edge room against anybody's in the country. And I really do feel confident that, this group is going to show up in SEC play for you big time. So I'll go B plus with that group overall.
What do you think, Jerry?
Yeah, I'm a little different because I think this is the position, and I think they're playing well, but I expected so much more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Texas had 46 sacks as a team last year. Yep. And I mean, I'm going to give them a B. I almost feel like it's more of a B minus because, I mean,
wow.
I mean, look, I think they're playing well, but again, this is the position that has to be the difference maker for this team. They have to be consistently pressure bringers. I mean, Colin Simmons has 4 sacks, but Trey Moore, who's playing more linebacker, has 1. Brad Spence has 2. Ethan Burke doesn't have any. Lance Jackson has 1.5. Zena has 1. I mean, the pressure has not been applied, and I think Colin Simmons had some his own struggles, but he's getting it together now. So I'm going to go B because I think they've played well overall, but this was the one position group that going into the season I thought would have been a solid A, and I don't think they've been that. Yeah,
it's a good point. They're not on pace for 46 sacks. I mean, it's halfway through the season where they got 16 or something like that. So they don't. Jerry said they got to hit the 40 mark. That's where the elite teams go, 40 plus.
Yeah,
they still have some work to do there.
All right, let's talk about linebackers, Jerry. You mentioned a little bit. What do you think about the linebacker group at this point?
Again, I think they've been solid. I mean, Anthony Hill not having a sack through 6 games is that's a puzzling number for me. And I know they haven't brought him on the blitz as much, but he had 8.5 sacks last year, and he doesn't have any this year. That's the one thing. I think that's the one stat with this team that surprised me the most. As good a player as he is playing downhill, finding football. And I'm not saying he's playing poorly, by the way. I'm just saying that's the one thing when you look statistically at Texas, you're just like, that one doesn't make sense because he had 8.5 sacks last year and you thought he could get 10 this year.
Yep.
But I think LaFau is solid in his role. I think Ty Anthony Smith is one of the better pure football players on this team. I think Trey Moore is I'm not sure. I think he's an edge playing linebacker. I like that Brad Spence lined up at a little linebacker against Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give these guys a solid B plus because I think they're playing really well as a unit. But I want to see Anthony Hill get after the quarterback the second half of the season. And I'm not sure the schedule sets up for that because I think people are going to try to play low possession, games against Texas and run the football. But I think this is a solid group. I think they're a dependable group. And I think they're doing their job well without making as many flash plays as I expected.
What are your thoughts, Rod?
Love what Ty Anthony Smith is doing. I mean, the guy's basically forcing the coaches to keep him on the field as much as possible. Like, it's just hard to get that guy off the field. He's great on passing downs and showing that he can also hold up against the run. Linebacker has played really well to start out the season. Yeah, you're right about the Anthony Hill thing. I don't know why they're not using him more in the NASCAR packages on the edge or blitzing in the interior gaps. I don't get that either. I'm with you on that, Jerry. That's a bit puzzling, but that's more schematic. I like and you brought up Trey Moore too, and some of the cross training with Brad Spence. I like this group, man. They're so deep. Kind of reminds me of Texas kind of tight ends on the other side. They got so much variety, so much versatility. I'm gonna go with I like it. I'm gonna go with a B+ for this group because I think you're right about Anthony Hill. That's no doubt. That's a great point you made there, Jerry. Got to have more impact downhill havoc plays from him, and I think it's more on PK to put him in that position too.
Yeah, good stuff from you guys. I'll just list this real quick. 3 of the 5 leading tacklers for the Longhorns. Anthony Hill is number 2 with 38. Anthony Hill is 2 with 38. Lianga Lafau is 3 with 33. Anthony Smith,
telling you,
has 27 tackles. Not far behind, yet he has vastly fewer reps. It's pretty strong sense that they're playing Anthony Smith quite a bit, and it'll be interesting to see what they do with Brad Spence vis-a-vis Trey Moore the rest of the way. To your point, Rod, they have a litany of ways they can use these guys.
Yep.
They really do. And that's going to be interesting. All right, Rod, you are the DB, former DB at the University of Texas. So you get to take the DB grades and go nuts here, buddy. Talk to us about – start with corners and nickels as a grade and then go over to safeties.
Yes, hard not to see how valuable Malik Muhammad was coming from that Florida game and then going right to the Oklahoma game. Guy gets 2 picks, SEC co-defensive player of the week, and then obviously Texas missed him in that game versus Florida with the young Dallas Wilson, those wideouts making plays. So I like the way Malik Muhammad has started out the season. I mean, against Ohio State, obviously, that's the best wide receiving core in the country, and I thought he held himself. I thought he played pretty well and held himself to a high standard there. Jelani McDonald's been excellent so far. I know he made a couple of. I think he went after a football in that the Oklahoma game. He almost got a pick six. Should have had a pick six. I'm gonna get on him too. That's his second or third pick he's dropped this year. But he's still leading you in takeaways right now with 3. Michael Taft last week, I believe, was the highest graded safety in the country by Pro Football Focus. That group, safeties are balling to me. I mean, I'm still looking for more Derek Williams. I'm like, what can we see more Derek Williams out there? He's been great for him. So I'll go with the safeties and the corners. I know we're kind of putting all these things together, so I'll just kind of give you 1-2 here. But the cornerbacks, Grayson Littleton's been fantastic, one of the best true freshmen in the country. I do wonder if teams will try to go after Jalen Gilbo, but he still has probably made more plays than he's given up so far this year, even though he's given up some plays. So corners to me, I'm going to give that group overall. I'm going to give them B+. I'm gonna give the safeties, and this is because that Florida game keeps throwing me off. I want to give the safeties an A because I thought they've played really well so far. But Florida game, yards after the catch in that game, I think were 94 yards after the catch. I think it was 94 yards after contact, 120 yards after the catch in that game. I think ultimately that's the game that keeps everybody from getting an A from me. So I'm gonna go B+ with the safeties, B+ with the corners.
Jerry?
Yeah, I'm the same as Rod. I think those guys have made plays. I think they put themselves in position to make plays. When you have a freshman like Grayson Littleton come in and just race past expectations, I think that changes things for you. I think Cade Phillips is starting to come on. I like the depth. Warren Roberson's playing his best football. I like the depth on this group. And when a group is playing really well, when they can't get Jonah Williams snaps. Now that he's back from injury.
Yeah,
that says a lot. Jordan Johnson-Rebel as a second team, along with Phil Sami. This group I think is playing really solid football. Now, the Florida game, is the one right that Dallas Wilson looked like Michael Crabtree.
Yep,
that's never good. So I got to go B plus. I can't. I love this group, but that's the whole reason for me. B plus.
I'm fine with a B plus on safeties. I would even go A minus on safeties and B on corners.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'll go that direction from you guys.
Yeah.
All right, defense overall. Top 10 in multiple categories.
Yeah.
Pitching a virtual shutout against Oklahoma, a true shutout against another team. I mean, they've been good in every game except Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's 5 out of 6 what I think are winning performances. They did not have a winning performance. So what do you call that? Is that a B plus? If you're 5 out of 6, what's the ratio on that? I think they're a B plus, and I feel really good about this defense. I still worry about teams with big offensive lines that have good running backs. The team that worries me the most on this schedule, obviously, is Georgia, because that is Georgia.
Yep.
Right? Mississippi State is not unlike that.
No.
A&M. Yeah. So, but I would go B plus at this point, because I don't think, look, the game against Florida again was, I think, it wasn't an F, but it certainly wasn't a B against Florida. It was more like a C or D. What do you think, Jerry?
Yeah, I think the sum of the parts is better than any one position. That I think is kind of my take on the defense, right? They're ranked number 3 in defense overall. I mean, look, Sam Houston State's an awful team, right? UTEP's not very good on offense. San Jose State the same. So they haven't really – the stats are going to be really, really good, right? Even after the Florida game. I'm going to give the total team on defense an A minus. Okay. And because and here's why. They still went to Ohio State and gave up 14.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nobody else is going to just give up 14 against Ohio State this year. In fact, that will easily be the least points given up to Ohio State. They did not answer the bell against Florida, which I think is going to end up being a good wake-up call for the group, the whole team, that is. But they're still to be tested. To your point, Bobby, that's what's really going to tell the story. They're still to be tested against the run and physically the next 6 games in a row. It's coming. Now, here it is. Oklahoma's the worst rush offense they'll play the rest of the year as far as running backs and offensive line. Now they're about to be tested. But I actually think the interior defensive line is built for that. I'm going to go A minus as a whole, because there's no way I can grade a team that's ranked 3 overall in the defense in the country less than an A minus.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Rod?
No, I think Jerry's on to something. I mean, they do have the one down performance against Florida, but to me, it seems like, it's that kid that has aced all your quizzes and tests, and then they have that one test where they didn't show up, and you're like, what happened? Did you not eat breakfast? Is there something going on at home with your parents? Like, what's happening? That's the Texas defense to me. So I like what Jerry said about the A minus. They had that one no-show. It was a big one, but pretty much a one no-show. But every other time, man, this defense has been pretty buttoned up, and they have an identity, right? We know what they do really well, and they're top 10 in like 5-6 major categories. I think it's an A minus for this group, but I can't wait to see them get tested by some of these SEC offenses, athletic quarterbacks and physical running backs. That's a hell of a combination. You're right about that, Bobby.
Yeah, the heavy run game. We got to see them stop a heavy run game. Mm-hmm. All right, special teams. I want to say this. We don't have to critique this very heavily, because I think everybody knows Ryan Niblett has been hot or cold. And when he's hot, he's had some really nice returns. Like the return against OU turned the game on its head, gave Texas a 2-score lead. But he's also not been perfect. He lets the balls drop and goes in. Mason Shipley has been reliable inside 50 yards. You can't really ask for more than that.
Exactly.
And Jack Bomeister has been much better. Overall, special teams for me, guys, is improved year over year. It is not perfect, though. I'd give it a solid B plus at this point. What do y'all think?
Kicking and punting, I'm going A minus. Got a punt blocked, which ended up being a huge play against Florida. change the way you attack the game a little bit. And then, look, I think, and I love Ryan Niblett for what he stayed at Texas and what he has kind of pushed through the adversity. He's got to field more punts. You cannot give away the hidden yardages on the road in the SEC. He's got to come up and field the football. Field position is going to matter because I think these are going to be lower possession games, Rod, starting Saturday. Kentucky's going to want to try to take the air out of the ball. Texas has played a low possession game against Oklahoma. So you have to be buttoned up. The hidden yardages are going to matter, and field position is really going to matter. So I think from a kicking and punting standpoint, I give him an A-. Everything else, I kind of give him a B-.
What do you think, Rod?
I'm gonna go B overall with the special teams. Like you said, Niblett's been kind of feast or famine, but hell, man, he's one of the best punt returns in the country. Crazy part is, like Gerry said, also he makes questionable decisions back there in terms of fielding those punts. I think he'll get better. There's no way Jeff Banks isn't working on that with him. It's too obvious to everybody. So I think that will get better. I like what I've seen so far from Boomeister and from Shipley. Shipley's not a weapon. A weapon means you can use him for 50 plus. He's not a weapon. Yeah. He is reliable and trustworthy as a kicker. So I like what I've seen, especially if you did have a punt block. And I know Jeff Banks is going after a punt unsuccessfully. I want them to make some more splash plays. So I'll go B right now for the group. Too many good athletes on special teams right now for Texas not to be excellent at special teams, though.
Yeah, I agree with that last point.
Yeah,
Texas should be even better than they are right now and more productive typically. I mean, there's been some inconsistency there, right? That's what we're really harping on, not necessarily in the punting or kicking game itself or with the punters or kickers, but with the actual rest of the team. All right, one more thank you to our friend Adam Lowy over at the Lowy Law Firm. Thanks to him. He sponsors each and every state of the program. We can bring you episodes like this. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind and think you might be due compensation, reach out to Adam and his group at loweylawfirm.com for a free, no strings attached consultation. Again, that is loweylawfirm.com. They've been helping injured Texans for 20 plus years. Adam also University of Texas Law School grad. All right, Rod, Gerry, not bad grades for the Longhorns overall. They're 4-2. Some people hoped they would be much better off this side of things. But all in all, I think that we all agree Texas may be looking like they're starting to be on the right track, most importantly, as we head into the second half of the season. All right, for Gerry Hamilton and Rod Babers, as well as our producer, Matt Hutchinson, I'm Bobby Burton. This has been On Texas Football. Hook 'em.